Hello and welcome back to Shakesyear. We are almost done with The Merchant of Venice. We have like 4 more monologues in Merchant of Venice and then this one's over. But today we get to hear from Lorenzo in Act 5, Scene 1. There's only one scene in Act 5, so we've made it to the last act, the last scene of the play. And you might be wondering what is left to be resolved, because yesterday we were in Act 4, Scene 1, which was Antonio's trial, where it was determined that Shylock could take a pound of flesh but couldn't spill any blood in the doing of it, and Shylock eventually had to concede that he wasn't going to be able to take the flesh, but then they wouldn't let him take his money either, and they told him that he had to renounce his faith, give half of his estate to the state of Venice, and the other half of his estate was supposed to go to Antonio, but Antonio was like, no, it's okay, I don't need it, put it into a trust for Jessica, Shylock's daughter, who ran away from her father, renounced her faith, and married Lorenzo. So Shylock really did not get the good end of this deal, which is a little upsetting that he's left with nothing. But anyway, that's a discussion for another day. At the end of Act 4, Scene 1, we had Portia, who was dressed as Balthazar, talking to Antonio and Bassanio, who are both like, we need to pay you for coming in and saving the day. And she's like, no. And they're like, yeah. And she's like, okay, well, I'll take that ring. And it's the ring that Portia had given to Bassanio. And Bassanio's like, no, I can't give this one away. And she's like, well, then I guess I wasn't worth it. And she sort of storms off. And Graziano's like, come on, man, give Balthazar the ring, Balthazar/Portia, the ring. And Bassanio's like, okay, fine, take the ring, give it to him as payment for what he did, and hopefully Portia will forgive me later. And he and Antonio go off to have dinner. So in Act 4, Scene 2, we have Graziano catching up with Portia and Nerissa, and he's like, wait, hang on real quick. Here's the ring that you asked for. Bassanio is very, very grateful, and Portia's sitting here like, ha, because she's laying a trap for her husband, this ring that he wasn't supposed to give away. He has now given away, but he gave it away to her, not knowing that it was her, and that kind of thing. So they send Graziano away, and Portia and Nerissa are like, we're going to get home before our husbands do, and then we're going to ask them about rings. And Nerissa's like, oh, I'm going to go see if I can get the ring that I gave Graziano. This is going to be so fun. And that's the end of Act 4, Scene 2, which it's a really short scene, and I think part of it is just, it's sort of a palate cleanser after the trial. And Act 5, Scene 1 also starts out lovely and gentle. We have Lorenzo and Jessica back in Belmont at Portia's estate, and they're enjoying a lovely evening, and they're playing a game of like, let's compare ourselves to the most famous lovers. And they're like, on such a night as this, Troilus saw Cressida. On such a night as this, Phoebus saw Thisbe. Yeah, I almost got those names wrong. All that sort of thing. They just keep going like this, comparing themselves to these great historical lovers and that kind of thing, until they're like, yeah, we could do this all night, but then we're going to start to have words. And then Stefano, who is one of Portia's servants, comes in. He's like, hey, I got a message. Portia's coming home. She's going to be here sometime tonight. She's going to be here before dawn. And they're like, great, that's fantastic. Let's start getting everything ready for her to come home. And then Lancelot Gobbo comes in, and he's like, hey, Bassanio is also coming home. He's going to be here first thing tomorrow morning. And they're like, great, let's start getting things together so that we're ready for everybody to come home. And Lancelot Gobbo's like, cool. And he leaves, and Lorenzo says, let's in and expect their coming. And yet, no matter. Why should we go in? My friend Stephen, signify, pray you, within the house, your mistress is at hand, and bring your music forth into the air. Goes inside. How sweet the moonlight sleeps upon this bank. Here will we sit, and let the sounds of music creep in our ears' soft stillness, and the night become the touches of sweet harmony. Sit, Jessica. Look how the floor of heaven is thick inlaid with patterns of bright gold. There's not the smallest orb which thou behold'st, but in his motion like an angel sings, still choiring to the young-eyed cherubims. Such harmony is in immortal souls, but whilst this muddy vesture of decay doth grossly close it in, we cannot hear it. Come, ho, and wake Diana with a hymn, with sweetest touches pierce your mistress' ear, and draw her home with music. So he's being lovely, really, is what's happening here. He's like, okay, let's go inside and get everything ready. And he's like, actually, no, why do we have to go inside? Let's sit outside and make some music and welcome Portia home with that, because every single star in the sky is part of a celestial choir that's singing, but we, mortal humans can't necessarily hear it. So let's have Stefano go and get the musicians and bring them outside, and we will wake the gods with our music and welcome Portia home with a very, very sweet song. And so then music starts, and Jessica's like, I'm never happy when music plays. And Lorenzo, of course, has some thoughts on that. We'll get into that tomorrow. I'll see you then.